So there's a new moon in Gemini this week. And what if instead of making your life harder than it has to be, you actually took the opportunity to change something? What if that change started in your mind? What if you made the conscious choice to stop second guessing yourself? What if instead of doom scrolling or spiraling or catastrophizing or gaslighting yourself, you actually let yourself explore some best case scenario options? You imagined possibilities that actually exist outside of your current reality? Or maybe you celebrated the fact that your life is not set in stone, honey. Your fate is not sealed. And maybe the first step to changing your life is changing your attitude. Okay, that's serious tea. The theme of the week is live deliciously, and that is exactly what we're going to do, but it's going to start up here in the mind. So let's do it. We're steeping up our brew. Tea is served. Hello, and welcome to Astrology with Aliza Kelly. I'm your host and your spiritual friend, Aliza Kelly, and I'm so happy that you're here. This is your weekly brew. I serve it to you hot and fresh every single Monday, and the theme of this week is, live deliciously. And the top 3 things you need to know are, number 1, Venus is really doing the absolute most this week. Yes, I am talking about the planet of love and beauty and pleasure. It is really going to be, taking the reins, which means we need to get on her level. Okay, number 2, we are racing to a delightful new moon in Gemini, which is amazing for setting intentions and planting seeds, which leads me to number 3. Honey, your reality is created in your thoughts and in your words. So this week, I want you to be incredibly intentional with everything you think, with everything you say, recognizing that that is how you begin to live deliciously. If you are new here, welcome, friends. Hello, we have been waiting for you, and we're so glad that you found us. How did you find us? How did you discover our show? Pray tell. Let me know in those 5-star reviews because, honey, we love to serve. Speaking of serving, new members of our community should know that I have new episodes for you every single Monday and every single Wednesday. Every Monday, expect your weekly brew to get you set up for the week ahead. That's your horoscope, your journal prompt. We also do some tarot. And then on Wednesdays, the tea is piping hot because we have a tea party. These are our deep dives into astrology that really bring it all together. And this week, we are going to have our second celebrity party with one of my absolute favorite comedians and actors and Virgos. Any guesses on who it is? This will be available on Spotify and YouTube and, of course, on Apple Audio as well, so be sure to get ready. And whether you have been here since our launch a few months ago or if you are joining us right now for the very first time, thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of the community. Your ratings and reviews and follows and subscribes truly make this show possible, like truly, literally, seriously. So if you haven't had a chance yet, make sure you do it right now. Maybe today is the day. Yes, let's do it. Another thing, just another quick FYI, there is a coven meeting in the Constellation Club this week. Yes. It's on Friday, June 12th at 8 p.m. Eastern for the new moon in Gemini that we are going to be talking about today. So if you'd like to work with me a little more closely, if you'd like to learn about what this lunation means for you, and if you want to make some magic, head over to constellation-club.com. I can't wait to get to know you and see that beautiful face of yours. You could be on camera, off camera, you do you, but the vibes are immaculate, so I will see you there. Okay, enough of my yapping. Your weekly brew is coming up. Stay tuned. We will be right back. Welcome, my beautiful community, to Astrology and this week's Monday Weekly Brew. It's me, obviously Aliza, and I am so excited to serve you this week, okay? The theme of the week is live deliciously, but hold those horses. Aliza, nay. If you're like, live deliciously, in the year of our Lord 2026, have you seen anything? Have you seen le mess? Have you seen le stress? Have you seen le absolute destruction? Oh, sure I have. I'm right there with you, doll. I see everything. I know what's going on. But this week's theme and energy is not about trying to bypass or pretend that life isn't hard, or gaslight yourself into thinking that things are going to be easy peasy lemon squeezy from this point on. No. We know that we have a lot of responsibilities. We know that we are not only doing our absolute best to get by with things being the way they are right now, we know that we are literally just trying to live, laugh, love our way through the end times. But the theme of the week insists on living deliciously. And this means that for us, it needs to start with an attitude shift. It's an attitude adjustment, honey. We need to live deliciously from the mind out. It's not just about sipping the most delicious brew. It's about changing the way we think about tea altogether. Woo, that's what I'm talking about. And this is actually just so incredibly important because the star of the show this week is Venus, which is the planet of love and beauty and values and worth and money and pleasure. And that really means that if we are working with the universe, right, if we are working with our horoscope, we are choosing to explore those Venusian themes even as we recognize that understanding what Venus is doing for us may begin as a thought experiment. So start by interviewing yourself with a couple of questions, okay? What does it mean for you to feel abundant and beautiful and bountiful and fulfilled? And then what does a scaled back version of that look like? Like if we were to say that it's a 0 out of 10 scale, 10 is the absolute most abundant and fruitful and prosperous. What does it look like to be at a 4? What would it look like to be at a 5? Maybe a 6? Could we get a 7? Could we get an 8? I'm not asking you to max out at a 10 right away, especially if your starting point is much lower on the scale. Honey, if you don't even feel like you are on the scale at all right now, I just want you to get on the scale. And then once you are there, try to punch it up a little bit throughout the week. Every day, take your current situation and make a few intentional choices, either from an internal attitude adjustment or an external decision that you're making, and get a little more aligned with that Venusian energy. Because we can still play with our beautiful elastic brains and see what happens if we choose to look at a situation from a new perspective. You know what I mean? Because if you are just holding your breath, waiting for everything to feel perfect before you let yourself enjoy your life, honey, you are going to miss your entire life. Ooh, that is tea. Okay, so back to all things Venus, you need to know that Venus is really coming in hot this week. On Tuesday, Venus is linking up with Jupiter in Cancer, and baby, it's something we love to see. As mentioned, Venus is the planet of love and beauty, and Jupiter is luck and fortune and abundance. In traditional astrology, Venus is referred to as the lesser benefic, and Jupiter is the greater benefic. So we got Venus, little lucky Venus, and then we got Jupiter, big casino daddy, cute, all around. This means, honey, that this link up is the meeting of the two benefics in astrology, the two planets that are associated with blessings and bounty and abundance. Hello. And that's a really major thing. This is a moment where anything can happen. And don't forget that Jupiter is still in its exalted place in Cancer, which means there is no place that Jupiter is happier and more prosperous than right here, right now. And I don't want to go on a whole tangent diatribe about this, but let me for a second, okay? I think there is something so tremendously fascinating about the fact that Jupiter, which like so many of the other planet archetypes in astrology is so male-coded, is exalted in the sign of Cancer, which is ruled by the moon and so deeply associated with motherhood. It's giving pregnant belly. And it's not lost on me the fact that Jupiter had to save his siblings from Saturn's stomach because Saturn, being a true psychopath, consumed his children. And it was Jupiter's own mother who spared him. It's like mommy issues in the best way possible. You know what I mean? It's the recognition that we are nothing without women, and life and creation is the most abundant thing, and that our mommies are always going to protect us, even if we are our own mommy, okay? Anyway, Venus in Cancer and Jupiter in Cancer is so much about the support and the love that we give and receive to others. But this week, honey, I want to make sure that you are thinking about this on a personal level too. Are you treating yourself with the sweetness and tenderness of a newborn baby. You want a baby to feel loved and supported and well-fed and held and warm and cozy, right? You're not a sicko. So give that to yourself. What does that look like? What does it feel like? How can you create your own self-adoration? And how can that become its own expression of living deliciously? Now, because Venus is a diva, always, it is not simply just giving us this little taste of Venus-Jupiter luck without also making sure we understand the implications, okay? Right after this meetup with Jupiter, Venus squares off with Chiron, the wounded healer, which means that even as you are showering yourself with affection, you may realize, oh my God, this is actually what I have been needing so badly, and this is what I haven't been getting, and this is why I have been feeling so sad, so off, so disappointed, probably. And maybe that recognition is going to make you feel sad. But it's okay to be sad. It's okay to be sad for a moment. It's okay to be sad for a minute. It's okay to be sad for a day as you realize that you deserve more. In fact, having that sensitive moment with yourself where you're like, wow, I should be treating myself very differently than I'm treating myself. And I've been being cruel to myself unnecessarily. And that makes me sad. Like, that's part of the process. And that's tea. And then, honey, Venus does something wild, okay? Venus is really going off this week. Venus is really being that bitch. And on Saturday, Venus enters bombastic, theatrical, competitive, passionate, fiery, dramatic Leo, and it is giving grand entrance, okay? It is giving arrival, it is giving hair, it is giving face, it is giving fierce. Because once Venus enters Leo, hello, we remember confidence. It's pleasure. It's that deep spirituality of adornment and celebration and allowing yourself to take up space and feel good and actually cause a little scene. And keep in mind that Jupiter is also about to be going into Leo. So this movement from the lesser benefic Venus into Leo is really something that deserves our attention, not just because it's Leo and obviously we got to give it the attention, but because it's actually setting a precedent for what's to come when Jupiter goes into Leo and then stays there for a whole entire year. Such tea. Okay, now you also need to know that we are racing towards a delightful new moon in Gemini this week. The new moon in Gemini arrives on Sunday night, and she's curious and she's hopeful and, dare I say, a little mischievous. Gemini energy reminds us that life changes through choices and conversations and introductions and perspective shifts. Big dramatic transformations matter, obviously, but so do the little things, because changing your mind, right? Perhaps the most important thing of them all. Sometimes your whole life shifts because you choose to look at a situation from a different point of view. And then, ta-da, you unlock potential that you didn't even know was available to you. You didn't even know was accessible. You didn't even know it was there. And what I really love about Gemini energy is that Gemini understands something so critical, that you can just begin for the sake of beginning. You do not need to have a whole plan in place before you take a first step. Gemini understands that curiosity is really an invaluable ingredient, because when you are just trying to act on certainty alone, that can be hard and unreliable, because when we're scared or overwhelmed or disappointed, like, we're not feeling certain, but curiosity is available to us all the time. And it's a mental reframe. So I want you to ask yourself, what storylines in your life are you ready to shift? Where are you ready to adopt some curiosity? What are you curious about right now? Is there something or someone that keeps trying to get your attention? They're like pawing at you like a little kitty cat. Because new moons are about planting seeds. And Gemini is so much about remembering the magic of our language, the magic of our thoughts. Our questions are magic. Our conversations are magic. The words you speak become the stories you experience, right? The stories that are in your head are the stories that you see play out in your life. Words are wands, baby, so make sure that what you are thinking is what you want to be living. And gorgeous friends, a reminder here that I am hosting a new moon in Gemini coven meeting this Friday, June 12th at 8 p.m. Eastern in the Constellation Club. It's going to be very, very good because this Gemini new moon is really incredible for getting a little witchy, making some magic together, changing our mind about something. So head over to Constellation-Club if you want to join us. We would love to have you. And this leads me to the third and final thing that we really, really need to clarify this week, which is that your reality, that living delicious lifestyle that we are trying to create here with Venus doing the most, is something that is always going to begin in your thoughts and in your words, period. So I really want you to become intentional about how you are understanding and processing your own mental landscape. And also keep in mind, baby, your nervous system is listening to you all the live long day. If you are constantly telling yourself things that are negative, things like nothing ever works out, that you are unlucky, that no one understands you, that you're unlovable, that you're doomed from the start. Well, eventually, honey, those things are going to become facts because your mind is trying to prove you right. It turns out that we humans are very competitive with ourselves, okay? We want to be right. So if you are telling yourself those stories, you are actually making choices based on those very bad vibe concepts, whether or not you even know that you are. It's shocking. It's horrifying. It's the worst tea out there, okay? But this week, you have an opportunity to pay attention to your assumptions, to how you communicate to yourself, to your default responses to situations that are hard, your default responses to situations that are exciting. And notice how all of that informs both your thoughts and your reality, because you can literally interrupt yourself and choose another way of thinking about something if you don't like the way you're thinking about it. It's neuroplasticity, baby. And this week, that gorgeous, adaptable brain of yours is really going to teach you how to live deliciously as long as you are ready to think deliciously first. Ooh! As always, here is your journal prompt for the week ahead. If I were to choose to believe that the most amazing and exciting changes were happening imminently, guaranteed, how would that confidence and certainty shift my mindset on a day-to-day basis? And now let's see what's going on with her. With who? With her. Tarot. The tea. The teaest tea of all teas here at the Weekly Brew Astrology. So if you're new here, oh my gosh, hello. I'm so glad you're here. Every week we pull a tarot card for the week ahead to see what the vibes are. I always say that it adds this different nuanced layer to the theme of the week and to the astrology and to understanding how we can better metabolize the energy. So let's see what we need to know from a tarot POV. Page of Pentacles. Katrin, have we seen the Page of Penties before?
We saw the Page of Swords 2 weeks ago.
Oh, T. So this is the Page of Pentacles. We have not encountered the Page of Pentacles before here on Astrology, but 2 weeks ago, we did see another page. It was the Page of Swords. And you may recall from that pull how if I were to redesign this deck, I would put baby faces on all of the pages as a reminder of the fact that these are, youthful energy, right? The first time that we're encountering the associated suit, the associated element and energy. The Pentacles is about money and resources, but for us and for this week, it is truly about the Venusian things, right? It is about how we can generate abundance and prosperity, lucrative opportunities into our life. And because we are approaching it from a page point of view, we have to be willing to try new things. We have to be beginners at it. So this is so tank. There are no coincidences. It totally supports these overarching themes, which is like, hey, if you want to live deliciously, if you want to change your life, you need to start over perhaps, especially around the stories that you tell yourself. I also think it's super tea and interesting because every year, at the end of a calendar year in the Constellation Club, we pull tarot cards for each month, and then we pull a card for the energy of the whole year, one overarching card. And 2026's overall card was the Page of Pentacles, which is really about finding new opportunities for resource, for values, for money, for abundance. So maybe 2026 and the energy of this year overall is going to be something that we can really tap into in the days ahead, which is so tank because I really think that like this Venus energy for us to understand and embody, and the new moon in Gemini is such a turning point of like, okay, kid, if you want to change your life, you have to change the way you think about life first and foremost. And Page of Pentacles, you have to be willing to be a beginner again and find new ways of being able to understand, interact, and experience money, resources, the values, the worthiness in your life. So it's tank, it's tea, it's delightful, it's delicious, and it's just perfect. Coming up, let us find out what this new moon in Gemini means for you, how it can support you in living deliciously as we move through all of these beautiful Venusian experiences. So stay tuned for your personalized horoscope right after this quick break. Welcome back, friends. It's time for your horoscope. Ding, 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 ding-a-ling. And as always, I have two things I want to tell you, not because I don't think you know them, but if you're new here, I want to get you settled, okay? I want to make sure you have a napkin on your lap. First and foremost, listen for both your sun and your rising sign, because together, these help tell a more complete story about where the themes of the week are actually going to show up for you. And number two, I always go in zodiacal order. Listen, I'm a Virgo Mercury and Virgo Mars. I can't do it any other way. So to find your sign, just use these time codes, timestamps, chapters. They're all synonyms for the same thing. But be sure to also listen to the horoscopes of the most important people in your life, because you want to know what's coming up for them too, don't you? Mwahaha. Okay, let's do it. Hello, Aries. Honey, is it getting hot in here? Is it feeling a little like, I don't know, stuffy? A little maybe claustrophobic? Okay, Aries, listen, we have got to talk about these stories that you are telling yourself, because even from here, they are really stressing me out and making me feel very stuck and very stifled. And I do not like it. Aries, we have a new moon in Gemini this week, and it is really the essence of you needing to open a window in a room that has been sealed off for a long, long time. It's dusty, it's gross, and we need some fresh air, honey. So this new moon is really giving new perspectives. It's your chance to stop assuming the worst before anything bad has even happened. And Aries, yes, that is exactly the musty, dusty vibe I'm talking about. And listen, honey, I know that you are always in this like, this is Sparta state of mind. You're armed, you're ready, you're prepared for battle constantly. We love it for you. But what if you actually just put down your sword and instead picked up a book, a robe, a photo album? I want you to figure out how you can find some comfy, cozy safety in this room. What's the room? It's your mind. I want you to experience what a soft and relaxed mind could look like, because that is going to positively impact your what? Nervous system, yes, but also your ability to create new realities for yourself. I want you to explore curiosity instead of reactivity. I want you to ask more questions, Aries. I want you to make fewer assumptions. I want you to let conversations go to weird places and then come back around again and realize that everything's actually okay, and that you don't need to make things so stressful and intense for yourself every single moment, because that is actually not doing you any favors in terms of your manifestation and your magical practice. For you, the pursuit of living deliciously starts with your ability to shift your energetic frequency from code red to a groovy, technicolored, rose-colored glasses kind of vibe. If you have been stuck in these loops, it's time to break them. And that means making choices to do that, because no one is going to be able to break them for you. You break these loops when you change how you approach a situation and you recognize that you don't have to be fighting. You can actually just take a nice long bath and feel all types of abundant and turn this landscape into something that is joyful and delightful and truly is the essence of living deliciously. Let this new moon open a few windows and let Venus remind you that you can relax. Aries, we love to see it. Hello, Taurus darling. Okay, so this week, the question for you is, what exactly do you believe you deserve? Because we have a new moon in Gemini, and it is going to be asking you to take a long and loving look at your relationship with abundance. Yes, Taurus, abundance. Page of Pentacles energy, okay? And don't forget that your planetary ruler, Venus, is also going to be very, very, very active in the days ahead. So all roads are going to lead to some incredibly important conversations around money and confidence and self-worth and security, and basically all of the things that you care about, like on a cellular level with every bone in your body. Taurus, I know that things have felt uncertain, and obviously you don't like that. Why would you like that? No, of course you don't like that. But this week, I also want you to pay attention to where scarcity thinking may have become a bit of your default setting, and maybe you're not actually seeing things clearly. Are you assuming that there isn't enough to go around? Are you assuming a situation is going to go downhill just from the jump? Are you assuming that these opportunities belong to someone else, that you are somehow too late to the game, that you can't play anymore? Because Taurus, honey, your reality is going to start changing when you stop locking yourself into narratives that, frankly, are not serving you. You can ask for more. You can expect more. And before you start to go into this like, well, what if I fail? What if it's all a disaster? What if you're not right? Hold on. Let me lovingly interrupt you with a counterpoint, okay? Number one, I'm never wrong. And number two, what if the worst thing happens when you put yourself out there? Sure, but what if it actually works out? What if life is trying to meet you halfway and you have just been too stressed and too tunnel vision to notice that actually the universe has been handing you a lot, but you have not even noticed because you have been so obsessed with the idea that things are not going your way? Baby, when you start changing your relationship with your worth, your relationships are going to begin changing too. And in all aspects of life, especially when Venus moves into Leo, which is a like-minded fixed sign, you are going to realize that you do not need to accept things that are below your pay grade. And you also don't need to accept relationships that are not giving you what you need. And then you can truly feel safe and steady in all aspects of life, because you can trust that at the end of the day, you will always have your own back, whether it relates to money or relationships or career, whatever it is. There is nothing more reassuring than knowing that you, Taurus, are always going to support yourself in living the life that you deserve to live. That's tea. Gemini, ooh la la, we are really loving this season. You are taking us on quite the ride this Gemini season. Okay. Well, continuing our flow with this Gemini roller coaster storyline turning point of the year, this is another big week. We have 2026's only new moon in Gemini in your sign, and it is indeed the cherry on top of an already very intriguing birthday season, to say the absolute least, okay? Gemini, this week is your opportunity to decide with intention who you want to become, how you are going to totally and completely embrace the rapidly transforming experience that defines your life. Were you different 6 months ago? Yeah, you definitely were. And are you going to be different 6 months from now? Absolutely. You can count on it. Do people sometimes have a hard time following your train of thought and these changes that are happening to your identity and to your natural evolution? Yes, they do. But also, that's not your problem. You cannot keep dragging around inauthentic versions of yourself that just don't even make sense for who you are anymore just because people expect you to be a certain way. Gemini, come on. That's not what we're doing. That's not the vibe. That's not what living deliciously is about. Honey, this is really an opportunity for you to start to shift your mindset, okay? This is about changing your perspective on yourself first and foremost. Are you constantly telling yourself that, okay, yeah, I'm good at this, but I'm not good at that? I'm abundant in these areas of life, but no, not over here. Well, what if you decided to flip those parallelisms on their head, right? What if you 180'd it and then you flipped it around again and then there wasn't a bad thing at all? It was actually that you were good at both of those things, or you were deserving of both of those things, and things can be good and they could even be better. Honey, I know it might be unfamiliar not to imagine a worst case scenario as part of this duality, right? But that's a practice. And when your confidence shifts, your tangible world is going to start shifting too. Don't forget that Venus and Jupiter are linking up this week in a way that really wants to support your resources, your stability, your abundance. Hey, it's Page of Pentacles, okay? Living deliciously for you this week means Delulu is actually going to start generating a boo-boo. That's abundance, baby. So get on that level. Hello, Cancer angel baby. Okay, sweetheart. This week ahead, very, very, very spiritual. I'm talking reflective, emotional, maybe a little dreamy, maybe a little weird. Why not? This new moon in Gemini is asking you to examine the stories that you have been telling yourself privately. Not even the ones that I know about. The very deep, very core, very foundational psychological ones that also are attached to the fears and the assumptions and those very self-critical versions of you that are somehow still getting past a microphone. You know how they sound. You know their laments. But why are they even still getting the mic, Cancer? I mean, they're not even good at karaoke. We hate the songs. We hate the vibe. And frankly, they're not even invited. So it's time to cut the mic, turn them off. We don't want to hear them anymore. And if you're like Aliza, what are you talking about? Cancer, I am talking about actually calling yourself out on the ways that you are not nice to yourself. That's the real tea. And this new moon in Gemini is your invitation to start changing your thoughts, to start to choose to change your thoughts so that you can actually start to change your reality and no longer feel like you are forced into these same sappy stories and bad songs that aren't doing you any favors anymore, okay? And once you choose to explore different ways of thinking, different narratives, different lyrics, you'll start realizing that life is really bizarre. And that's kind of what makes it special, right? Everything can change in an instant, but if you have been so closed off to that change, it's going to pass you by. Especially with Venus and Jupiter linking up in your sign this week, honey. this has the potential to serve glow up, like delicious glow up tea, in a major, massive way. It's about magnetism and confidence and love and desire. It's money that you didn't know was coming. And because the universe is trying to support you, yes it is, you need to make sure that you are willing to accept this love. Because if you haven't been tuned to that frequency, you really are going to risk it passing you by. You are so fixated on hearing this stupid karaoke song from the mean voices in your head that you're not on the right radio station. So Cancer, we don't want that, okay? This week, I want you to choose abundance by tuning the dial to ensure that it is a station that is nice to you, that it is kind to you, that it is excited, that it is hopeful, that it is optimistic, that it is impassioned. And that starts with changing the way you are thinking about things, going to that radio, changing that dial, and then realizing that, oh my gosh, there are abundant opportunities coming for me. And now I can hear them, now I can receive them. And that's that. Hello, Leo, darling. Okay, babe. First of all, big news, major news, fabulous news, delicious news. Yes, Venus, the planet of love and beauty and pleasure and attraction and desire and just looking good and feeling good, is moving into your sign this week. And baby, you are going to love to see this, okay? Because if there is one sign that understands the fact that a little fabulousness, a little drama, some glowy skin, a big grand entrance is not just theatrics and optics, but is actually spiritually significant, baby, it's you. And not only that, but Venus, which is, of course, love and beauty and all of those delightful things, moving into your sign means that all of those themes are going to be coming into your life. And it is also wetting the proverbial whistle for Jupiter to come into Leo right after. Yes, honey, the biggest baddie of them all is moving into your sign at the end of the month. We're going to talk about that more in this horoscope, but also in the weeks to come. But for now, just sip on that, put a pin in that, sip and pin, because before we get ahead of ourselves, I also want to make sure that we talk about the new moon in Gemini, because it's another very important astrological happening this week for you. It's an amazing lunation to work with, especially with what is going on with Venus and soon to be Jupiter, okay? This week's new moon wants you to think about your future from a different perspective, specifically the people who are going to be in your future. Who actually energizes you, who inspires you, who believes in you, and who is going to have your back even when you are having a hard time believing in yourself. Because Leo, these are the people that we want to keep close. But also, in that same breath, think about who sucks you dry. Who is exhausting you, Leo? And why are you bothering to keep those people in your orbit? Because really the whole point of living deliciously, which is our theme of the week, is celebrating that you choose who gets to participate in your life. Not everyone is entitled to that VIP experience. You know what I mean? So if they are not able to actually support you in the ways you need to be supported, that rope is not going to open. You get it? But really the whole kettle is the fact that this month is going to be setting you up for an incredibly intoxicating and exciting and life-changing summer. Because yes, Venus enters Leo this week, but that's an aperitivo. Jupiter, the planet of luck and abundance and expansion, is going into your sign at the end of the month. And this is going to be opening up a magical era that only happens once every 12 years. So this week, your assignment is to figure out how you can make things lighter and sweeter and shinier, recognizing the fact that you are starting to set the table for something very spectacular. And when you plant those seeds and set those intentions with the new moon in Gemini, baby, trust me when I say that you are really setting yourself up for success, because once Jupiter moves into Leo, and then July comes around, and the nodes move onto your axis, and then it's your birthday season, and then it's a solar eclipse in your sign. Oh my goodness, Leo, everything is going to be very different. Hello, Virgo. Okay, so today I want to have a conversation with you about ambition, okay? Because this week's new moon in Gemini is really asking you to think bigger about your future, bigger about your goals, bigger about what you actually want in this lifetime. And I know, my darling, beautiful Virgo, that sometimes you are so busy trying to make sure that everything is practical and realistic and responsible that you forget that you are also allowed to want extraordinary things and keep your options very open and have like super ambitious, lofty goals for yourself. But Virgo, like, you should have those super lofty, ambitious goals for yourself. Because if you're not setting your sights on magic, I'm sorry to say that like no one is going to do that for you. That is truly your responsibility. So you can think of that as another practical item on your to-do list. If you want to live an amazing life, honey, that's something that you need to be tending to. And really take that in, okay? And consider where you have been limiting yourself on a psychological, intellectual level. Where have you decided that success is something that is not going to be attainable in this quarter or this year or whatever it is, right? Why are you even telling yourself something like that? Why are these stories coming back up again and again and again? Respectfully, Virgo, they're bad stories, and you're a better storyteller than that. And this new moon in Virgo is a reminder that you are allowed to create a totally new narrative for yourself. And even if you just approach it from the lens of curiosity, yes, that curiosity is a critical ingredient in the process, because that curiosity is going to allow things to stay fluid and adaptive in your mind. And if they're fluid and adaptive in your mind, that means, Virgo, that things can happen that you didn't see coming. I am telling you, Virgo, once your mindset expands, your world is going to start expanding too. Not to mention that Venus and Jupiter are going to help you attract some very aligned connections and supporters and collaborators this week, like potentially in a very big way. So I don't want to just flat out say, okay, Virgo, this is a lucky week for you if you let it be, but this is a lucky week for you if you let it be. You know what I mean? People want to help you. Doors want to open. Living deliciously for you means letting yourself trust that what you want is not crazy. It's not a pipe dream. Bountiful things happen to people, and you deserve to have them happen to you too. Baby, you are ready for your close-up. So let's go. Hello, Libra darling. Okay, baby. Let us take a moment to talk about your POV, that perspective, because this week's new moon in Gemini is wanting you to make it a little more panoramic, okay? Stretch it, make it wider. Think about your future from a wider perspective. Think about what's possible and expand it. Because Libra, I am sorry to say, but I think that somewhere down the line, you have started to negotiate against yourself in a way that has made your vision very, very tunnel, very small, very unreptilian. You know what I mean? Let me see the terms and conditions that you have been telling yourself, because I think that we may need to hire some legal counsel to help us review them, because rip up those deal points, Libra. In the days ahead, you are being asked to think on a whole new wavelength. You are not going to have it all figured out. Libra, no one has it all figured out. But if you start to allow yourself to think from that panoramic POV, or entertain the possibility that your life may be far more expansive than you have even allowed yourself to imagine it to be, or that you are allowed to want more from whatever your life is and the conditions are right now, that's just the first step, angel. And Libra, if you're like, okay, I get it, I hear you, clocked, but what if it's a disaster and it doesn't work out? Respectfully, what if it does? What if this week is less about certainty and more about permission? Oh, permission to start over, permission to want more, permission to be ambitious, permission to be a little competitive. Yeah, Libra, I'm still talking about you. And when your perspective expands and gets panoramic, your career and your visibility and your opportunities get panoramic too. And Venus and Jupiter are doing the most this week for you. Don't forget, Venus is your planetary ruler. So when it links up with Jupiter, it is going to be bringing some aligned opportunities into your life. Maybe some support, maybe some recognition. Honey, people are noticing you. Doors are opening. And when Venus moves into Leo, forget it. All bets are off, baby, because things are going to get really sparkly all around you. As in, the right people are going to find you. They are going to want to bring you into their orbit. And the wrong people are going to see themselves out, just like that. Libra, for you, living deliciously means trusting that life is just beginning to bloom. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter how much you feel stuck in your reality right now. When you start changing your point of view, you start opening up new possibilities. And it's a little thing that makes a tremendous and dramatic difference in your life. And Libra, all I ask is that you begin right there and see what happens next. Hello, Scorpio. So this week, we need to talk about trust. You are a trustworthy person. It's core to who you are, but this is a little bit more nuanced than that, okay? So hear me out. The new moon in Gemini is activating some very deep emotional territory for you about intimacy, about vulnerability, about the deeply human experience of not being over something that you promised yourself you would be over by now. Real talk, Scorpio, those thoughts that you have been repressing are not really being repressed. They're actually leaking and they're oozing all over your manifestation streams and they're polluting the water. And ew, Scorpio, it's disgusting. Call the pre-Trump EPA because we cannot have this. But don't worry, this week you are doing a little cleanup. You are shifting your mindset around receiving. Receiving what? Receiving support, receiving help, receiving love, Scorpio. For you, living deliciously means recognizing that your intimidating strength and power should not preclude you from processing your complex feelings. Maybe this week, spending some time with a close friend or a partner or a parent or someone that you haven't chatted with in a while can actually help you work through some of the mental blocks that have been holding you back and leaking all over the place. And that little bit of social vulnerability is just what the doctor ordered. And I'm the doctor. And honey, once you are able to get to the other side of those limiting beliefs, or at least acknowledge what they are, things are going to start to change. Venus and Jupiter are going to be expanding possibilities. And then Venus moves into Leo, and that's a like-minded fixed sign. And baby, career matters are going to start heating up in a very big way. It's giving promotion. It's giving success story. It's giving Forbes. So don't get stuck obsessing over the tiny details, Scorpio. There is a future that is happening very, very soon, and it is setting you up to live deliciously. And that, my friend, is tea. Hello, Sagittarius. So this week we have a new moon in Gemini. Gemini is your opposite sign. So you know what I'm going to say, right? Relationships. Yes, we need to talk about them. But if you're like, are you sure? Do we really? Listen, Sag, I know what's been going on. How do I know? Honey, this is what I do. This is what I live for. You know what that's from? Ursula, the Little Mermaid, Poor Unfortunate Souls. It's such a slay. Anyway, this week's new moon in Gemini is, yes, asking you to look at your relationships and examine the stories you tell yourself about partnership. Not just the romantic ones, honey, but yes, the romantic ones. But I'm also talking about the most important friendships. I'm talking about your collaborations. I'm talking about your connections. I'm talking about what it means to rely on somebody else, what it means to feel the benefit of being supported by somebody else, what it means to actually brainstorm with somebody else and feel enhanced by, you guessed it, somebody else. Yes, Sagittarius, this is a thing. And it's a nice thing because obviously you're a genius, but what happens when your genius gets plugged into an outlet? That's electricity, baby, and we love to see it. So this week with the new moon in Gemini, consider whether the support of people that you genuinely respect could, I don't know, actually improve your life? What if you were willing to exchange information and ideas and tap into conversations that expanded your world? What if the right commitments, yes, I said commitments, offered you even greater freedom, even more opportunities in your life? Because when your relationship dynamics start shifting, I can assure you, Sagittarius, that emotional abundance is going to follow. Venus and Jupiter, Jupiter of course being your planetary ruler, are doing some very gorgeous things this week around trust and closeness and vulnerability. And then Venus moves into Leo, and then that really changes the vibe because Venus's movement into a like-minded fire sign is really going to take this concept of living deliciously to the max in the most Sagittarian way possible. Adventure and opportunities and literal philosophical breakthroughs. So Sag, when in doubt, remember that optimism is one of your superpowers. So even when the world is cynical, don't forget that your magic lies in your ability to say, fuck it, let's give it a try. And that also includes saying yes to bringing new people into your life. Hello, Capricorn sweetheart. So we have a new moon in Gemini this week. And the first thing that you should ask yourself as we come into this new week ahead is, how am I spending my time? Not me, you. How are you, Capricorn, spending your time? Obviously, I know that you are amazing at connecting the dots for those big swings, you know, the big picture story, the legacy, the long-term 5-year goals. But right now, I would just like you to really tune into the details, the schedule, the calendar. What are you doing, for example, at 3 p.m. on a Tuesday? What's going on at that time? What about 8 p.m.? What are you doing then? Or what time are you planning on going to sleep? What time are you planning on waking up? I am talking about this very granular nitty-gritty of your schedule and understanding what you are doing on a 24-hour period, on a 12-hour period, in a work day, because you should know that the most precious resource that you have is your time. And the theme of the week is living deliciously, but Capricorn, in order to get there, you are going to have to make some changes, okay? You're going to have to switch things up. And before you even get into that calendar, I would like for you to start switching things up on an intellectual level, on a mental level, right? I would like for you to start switching up the stories that you tell yourself and switching up whatever thinking patterns have made you feel stuck. For example, do you feel like you just simply do not have enough time in the day to accomplish everything that you want to do? I understand. The day is very finite, but maybe you can start to play with some more of the variable aspects of the day, right? Like, what if doing that thing didn't take you as long? Or what if you prioritized one thing over another? Or what if you just even changed up the order in which you do certain things, right? That can also switch things up. And all of that starts from an idea. All of that starts from understanding what you actually want to be doing and then making the changes to see that implemented and executed in how you allocate the hours of the day. And it's all tea, but the hottest tea is that these intentional changes in your daily life are going to generate massive changes in all other areas of your life, namely, honey, in your relationships. Because with Venus and Jupiter linking up in the sign of Cancer, your opposite sign, it wants you to bring awareness and intention into the most important connections of your life. The romantic ones, sure, but also contracts. You won't be able to receive these new opportunities if your life is set up the way that it is right now. Everything has a ripple effect, okay? So when in doubt, maybe just get a little slower, get a little bit more intentional, and start to think how you can create more time and more space in your day-to-day so that you can actually receive what the universe wants to give you. Honey, that's tea. Hello, Aquarius darling. Okay, so we've been talking about this for the past couple of weeks, but this is like really your last chance to do something about it, okay? And what it is the fact that your joy is productive, period. That it is important for you to have fun. That it is important for you to connect with pleasure and your creativity and romance and love and flirty and all of the things that make you feel that butterfly in your stomach sensation. If you have been acting like these earthly delights are frivolous little side quests, and that's actually not what the point of your life is, Aquarius, you are actually missing the point. Listen, it is still Gemini season, and with the sun and moon smooching in Gemini, in this like-minded air sign, your entire lunar manifestation, your entire directionality and focus in the week ahead should just simply be about making your life more playful. Doing a little flirting, doing a little vibing, maybe creating something that takes you by surprise. What a delight. You didn't even know that you had that talent. And if your immediate reaction to that is, what's the point? Aquarius, honey, nihilism? It doesn't look good on you. Because just being misanthropic is not actually going to help you or anyone make the world a better place. Living deliciously means allowing yourself to enjoy your life while it is happening and not being afraid to appreciate the radical gift of your own consciousness. And don't forget, honey, that this week Venus is also entering Leo, and Leo is your opposite sign. So when the planet of literally love moves into the area of your chart connected to relationships, this is going to mean that partnerships start to bloom in a very big and very important way. It's giving chemistry, okay? But before you get there, I want you to actually just start experimenting with the idea of celebration. Celebrating what? Celebrating you! Celebrating your existence. And especially being a person who's living in the world in the state that it's in today. I mean, truly, Aquarius, what could be more punk and revolutionary than trying to find joy in the day-to-day? You tell me. Hello, my little Pisces angel baby. Okay, sweetheart, we are getting emotional this week, okay? But obviously, what's new? The new moon in Gemini is asking you to really investigate the stories that you have been telling yourself around safety and belonging and what it means for you to be loved. Because if we are being honest, Pisces, and of course we are, that's what we do here, that's tea, there is a deep-seated fear that you have been working through around feeling unworthy. And when that feeling comes up, you retreat into yourself, you swim away. And as soon as you start to sense that something's a little off, right, you're like, bye, I don't need to be here anymore. You don't want me here. I'm gone. I've evaporated. But Pisces, hello, we want you here. We need you here. You are so important. And honey, I don't need to tell you this. In fact, you need to tell yourself this. And this week, it is time to start challenging those narratives that you believe that you are undeserving of love, right? If you think you're too much, too sensitive, too complicated, whatever it is, says who? The voices in your head, tell them to get a life. And frankly, tell them to get with the program because those dusty ass limiting concepts have got to go. They are outdated. They are old. We don't want them here anymore. For you, Pisces, living deliciously means recognizing that everything about you is worth celebrating and everything about you is deserving of a good life. And once your inner world starts feeling safer because you have made yourself safer, you are going to see that abundance is showing up in tangible ways. Hello, Page of Pentacles. Venus and Jupiter are going to be yeeting more creativity and confidence and just love into your daily life. And maybe they're even going to throw in a little surprise romance too. Okay, we'll take it. Little wins are going to start adding up this week, and you're going to feel more energized. You're going to feel more inspired. But before you get your groove back, you got to make sure that those gears in your head are churning in the right way. And that means that they are churning thought patterns that actually support your success and growth and happiness, not busted ones that are making you miserable. Pisces, it's time to try something new. So give yourself permission to be experimental. And that's the weekly Brew, Divas. What did you think? What did you love? Does your horoscope resonate? Let me know in the comments what you think. And of course, I'll see you on Wednesday for our tea party, our celebrity party. And then next Monday, I'll be back with more horoscopes. And then Wednesday, you know how it goes. I am here twice a week, so make sure you tune in every Monday and every Wednesday for all new episodes of Astrology. And don't forget to rate, review, follow, subscribe so you never ever miss a beat. Thank you for being here. See you in a few days.